Today's video is a face-off video. Today we're going from the real thing to the copy. So this is Brewdog's Elvis juice. Many people have probably had this one before. It's been out a while. And this is Aldi's Memphis Boulevard, also a grapefruit infused IPA. But which one's going to be better? Keep on watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're doing a face-off review between these two beers. One is from Brewdog. It's called Elvis juice. I'm sure a lot of people have had Elvis juice, but as much as I've been doing and drinking craft beer for over 2 years now, I've never actually had this before. Not a huge fan of Brewdog. Saw it, picked it up, and then I saw this one. This is called Memphis Boulevard, which is obviously Memphis, home of Elvis. The can colour's the same. It's a grapefruit infused IPA, which obviously Elvis juice is also a grapefruit infused IPA, says so right there. And they're both, I say they're both 6.5%. And they're almost, you think they're going to be the same beer. So I just wondered whether they would actually taste the same. As I say, I don't know whether this Brewdog beer, I know it's been around a while, and I saw it in the, even when I was in the Brewdog pub, had it in there, but I never actually had it. So I'm not sure how good it is anyway, but obviously this is the copy from Aldi. Price wise, the Brewdog I think is about $2.20, and the Aldi is, I think it was $1.69. It's not huge amounts of difference, but let's crack these open, get them into a glass, try and use similar sort of glasses and see which one's better. We'll pour them out first, then we'll do the normal sort of aroma and flavour. Probably not, I'm not going to score them because I just think it's a little bit overkill and the video is going to be too long. But let's just get them in a glass and see what's what. Hopefully you can see that there. So that's the Aldi copy, the Memphis Boulevard. Well, beer in a glass, I mean, there's a lot of difference there. The Brewdog one has got a really compacted sort of beige head, copper coloured, looks, you know, got a slight haze on it. The Memphis one, the Aldi one though, is a lot lighter in terms of the colour. The head is much more sort of, lots more bubbles in there, not very compacted. It looks generally lighter. So let's see whether there's any difference in the aromas of them. We'll go with the Brewdog first. Not a lot of aroma really. You get that artificial grapefruit sort of aroma, but it's not very big. There's also that sort of maltiness that you would get with a sort of a lager as well. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't smell overly inviting. I just think because you can smell that grapefruit, but it's a very sort of artificial sort of aroma. Let's see what this one's like. Well, this one's got a similar aroma with that grapefruit, artificially grapefruit smell. But it smells a little bit, I don't know, it's very similar. It just has amazingly, it just has a little bit of fresh, something stuck in there. I'm not sure what that was, maybe something in the glass. But smells-wise, aroma-wise, very, very similar. Let's go for the taste. We're going to go with the real McCoy first, the Brewdog. So, cheers, everyone. Yeah, lots of grapefruit. Artificial, I mean, we have grapefruit with loads of beers that we drink. This tastes like an artificial grapefruit sort of flavour. It's quite malty. There's a fair bit of carbonation. It's light, and there's that sort of grapefruit bitterness on the back end, really. It's okay. It's not what I would say is my preferred style, because to me, it's a much more of a sort of traditional IPA, even more of a California IPA with a sort of, with a big, you can see there's a big infusion of grapefruit there. Let's go for the Memphis Boulevard. It's slightly similar, but it's definitely a lot worse. There's no real competition with this. That artificial grapefruit flavour is really quite rotten in terms of its flavour. There's not a better way of describing it. It's a lot more fizz to this. There's a very much more carbonated. It's, you know, the Brewdog, although there's a little bit of carbonation there, has a little bit more smoothness about it. And to be honest, although it's not, I don't think it's great, that this sort of beer, in terms of, it's not really my sort of style. The Memphis Boulevard one, I'm going to go in once more because I'm not sure how much I'm going to drink of this. There's actually more. It's almost as if the concentrate in there is a little bit more stronger, but that ruins the beer a little bit. It doesn't do it. Usually when you think all more flavour is going to be better, but with this, it overpowers it. The grapefruit sort of infusion is just sort of, it doesn't matter what beer is underneath it really, because it just overpowers the flavour of it. And the bitterness, the dry bitterness, it coats your mouth a lot more. Not as smooth. Again, it's probably the mouthfeel and that sort of oval use of that infusion of grapefruit that just ruins it. It's not really that nice at all. I wouldn't really want to drink this. But let's go back with a Brewdog. It's okay. It's if you like the idea of a grapefruit infused beer, then you quite like it. I mean, there's a lot of, it's much more like a real ale or a sort of a bitter even, or much more on that sort of, even forget the grapefruit bit, it's much more on that sort of West Coast. It's more of an American pale ale than a sort of East Coast or New England style IPA. But I don't like beers which have this artificial stuff in it. The amount of beers that we review on this channel, New England IPAs, I mean, any sort of beers, West Coast IPAs, I mean, pale ales, any of those sort of beers, the hops can create that grapefruit flavour, and the grapefruit tastes real. You look at a hop like Talus, for example, a really sort of pink grapefruit sweetness, which is almost more what this is trying to achieve. But there's no pink grapefruit in that hop. The hop just creates the flavour, and the flavour just tastes more natural, and it's a much better drink for it. This tastes like what it is. It's like someone's gone, oh, you know, let's get a beer. Oh, it's all right, but, you know, why can we sort of jazz it up a little bit? Oh, how about putting something in it? You know, let's get some sort of juice, cordial sort of thing. I mean, it's obviously, I'm presuming it's more of a sort of, I mean, the way it says infusion, so it's probably a concentrate of grapefruit. How they make that, I don't know, but obviously in a factory, and then they put it in there. I just don't believe in that. I don't think I've had a beer that has had an infusion of something in it that makes it a better beer than what it could be, just with real hops, yeast, and all the rest of it, you know, malts and stuff like that. None of this adjunct stuff. I just don't think it works. But in terms of this face-off, the Elvis juice wins, I think, by a fair mile. But in terms of a beer, it's not that great. I mean, Brewdog don't make great beers. I'm sorry to say, they don't make great beers. But if you were going to really sort of like force my hand and say, oh, you've got to have you've got to drink Brewdog, then I would drink a Hazy Jane or a double hazy. There's something a bit more real about them, you know. It just tastes like a New England sort of beer. It's still not as good as loads of New England IPAs, even in supermarkets. I quite like the Duopolis, I've said before, which I can't see. I don't know if they make anymore because I haven't seen it anymore. Some of the pales, they're okay. The Planet Pale, for example. But they're not, you know, compared with anything else that's out there, they're a league a lot lower down. And this one is no different. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that don't drink much craft beer, or they buy their craft beer from Sainsbury's and Tesco's and places like that. And they go, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And I know there was a lot of contention with this because I think they rebrewed it, whether that was in a small can or in a bottle, where the ABV was like, I think, 5% instead of 6.5%. And there was a lot of argument and saying they made it worse. Actually, the more I drink it, the more pleasant it is. I think the key for it, and it is what makes the difference between the Aldi rip-off, is that it is quite smooth. There is a smoothness about it. That head, you can see, is a lot more sort of compacted, and it sort of drinks all the way down. And there is that sort of mild bitterness with a sort of grapefruit sort of bitterness that comes in. If you like that sort of thing, and certainly if you're more on the West Coast side in terms of your preference, then I'm sure you'll get a lot of enjoyment from this as a sort of a beer that's very inexpensive. I said I think this was £2.20, but I think you could probably buy boxes of this for, you know, for probably £8 or less, sort of thing. So on that basis, yeah, it's not bad in terms of its value for money, but it's just not my style. If I was going to buy a supermarket beer where I can, you know, in a box, for example, I would buy the Final Straw. That's my sort of go-to one at the moment. By Salt, which is in Tesco. Even other stuff like the Vocation that they have in boxes, various different types of that, and Lost Cosmonauts is another one from North Brewing that they have. Buxton have a 4-pack as well. Much better than this. But again, I think if you like the sort of grapefruit, the idea of it, it's not bad. And to be honest, for the first time I've had this, I reckon if I'd had this 2 years ago, I probably would have said it's pretty good. Because I remember having another beer from Aldi that was a grapefruit IPA that was similar to this. It wasn't this knockoff. It wasn't infused, but it was a similar one. I think it was William Brothers or someone like that, one of the Scottish breweries. Not bad. But anyway, the winner of this is definitely Brewdog. I hate, you know, as much as they will say, well, Brewdog's better. Yes, it's £2.20. This one's £1.69, but you know, 60p more. If you fancy something like this, go for the Brewdog. You know, it is a lot better. I thought it'd be closer, but it's a long, long way in terms of these beers. I mean, with the knockoffs in Aldi, you know, for example, the Rossini, which is the knockoff of Peroni, even the Birra Moratti, which the Birra Moratti rip-off. You know, they're closer. The lagers are much closer to the real thing. Not as good, but they are closer. This is a long way off. The flavour's there, but the body's all wrong. The whole sort of setup is just not, the brood is not right at all. So if you like grapefruit infused beer and you like the idea of that, then go for the Brewdog. I don't know if I'm sure there's other grapefruit infused beer, but if you like grapefruit flavours, go for something with talus in it. I mean, go for something with most of the Citra, Citra hops, Eldorado, there's loads of hops that have that sort of strata. They have big flavours of a grapefruit. So if you like grapefruit flavour, go for the real hops instead of anything that's infused or added or with an adjunct or with added grapefruit. You don't want that. Avoid that. Go for let the hops do the work. You'll much more enjoy it. Anyway, I've gone on for far too long, as always on these videos, and told you that's why I wouldn't do the scoring. But again, if you want a grapefruit infused IPA, then go for the Brewdog. Elvis juice, it's the better one.